Hi, guys. Thank you for joining us. I'm Jay Love, and I represent the Justice for Gerard Movement. And welcome to Turning a Moment into a Movement, where we come here on Fridays at 8:30 p.m. to talk about wrongful convictions and injustice. Um, our mission here is to bring awareness to the wrongful conviction of Gerard Haycraft and all others who are wrongly convicted, over sentenced, mentally ill, medically frail in our community, to inspire, organize, and educate all communities about the needs to disrupt systems, policies, and patterns of the criminal legal system that leads to wrongful convictions. So, of course, you guys know that Gerard was my son. He was wrongfully convicted of a crime he did not do. And because of that journey with him and meeting so many others who had similar wrongful conviction stories or families who were advocating for a loved one, because of all of those experiences, created this platform called Turning a Moment into a Movement. And basically, our goal is to leave information to educate, like our mission statement says, our community and those outside of our communities about wrongful convictions. These things are real, they happen all the time, and they're happening all over the United States. And so, thank you for joining us. I'm so glad you're here. We took a small break. I celebrated a birthday while we were off. And so, and I needed a small break to get some things done and to also take a rest. So, I'm grateful to be back. I'm happy you guys are here with me. And so, we're going to keep the movement going. And I'm going to bring on one of my dear friends who, from the day I told her about Gerard and the day I spoke to her about the things I wanted to do to bring awareness of what was going on, she's been rolling with me ever since. And that is Reverend Tia Taylor, or Tia Littlejohn. Hi, Reverend Tia.
Well, hello there. Look, I go by all of it. My maiden name is Lil John. I kept Taylor, look, because my children's last name is Taylor. so, so you can call me whatever you want to call me. What I'm
Yes,
so
Reverend
glad about,
Tia.
Jay, is that I am your friend. This has been a wonderful journey. It has been a journey that I could not have ever imagined
Yeah.
to walk through and to see you walk through that journey. And so this birthday, you know, Jay is just as calm and pleasant 24 hours, 7 days a week, I tell you. And she helps to bring out the best in circumstances. And I've seen her. I've seen her having to make changes at the last minute. I've seen her come across different things that she's fighting against and have to look the, I don't even say the enemy, but look ugliness in the face and
Yeah.
stand her ground. And so I'm just telling you, Jay, I know, hey, happy birthday again. It's still Pisces season, so
Yeah.
we still got some Pisces out there that are
Right.
celebrating. And I'm so glad to have walked this journey. I'm excited about our conversation today, Jay. You know, coming to you from the choice zone where your choice matters. And you know, right now I'm helping people learn the business of healthcare, of the non-medical healthcare that you can bring to your own community. So if you're interested, make sure you email me at Tia Taylor at thechoicezone.com. Mental health is very important. And that's what I do 24 hours. Well, I don't want to say 24 hours a day, but a lot of the time during the day, focusing on mental health and well being for myself and others. Um, and tonight, I'm telling you, Jay, this conversation here, when you talk about the false accusations, and you talk about pending cases and the money that's involved. If you have not glued in yet, you do not want to leave this platform before we hear about this conversation. I'm excited, and I'm knowing that not only are we going to hear the truth tonight, but we're going to
Mm-hmm.
have action steps that will help us win.
Yeah. Yes, Revatia. So next, I want to introduce. I remember when I first met Trisha. I had met. I went to a meeting and for Michigan Liberation, and at that time it was like, well, we don't do anything with wrongful convictions, but I know somebody who does, who has a platform, who does it. And I was like, okay, point me in that direction. And they point me into the direction of Trisha Duckworth. And from day one, she's been about it. I consider her a friend as well. And I want to bring her on. Trisha Duckworth. Hey.
Hey, hey, hey. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy Earth Day, dear J Love. Happy birthday to you.
Aww.
And wood, and wood, and wood.
Oh, Trisha.
Oh, goodness. Hello,
Hey,
hello.
Trisha. Hi, that was awesome. Beautiful.
Thank you, sis. Happy Friday. Happy birthday celebration month.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I guess every day above ground is a great day, even if some of the things within the day aren't that great, right? And
Mhm,
it's really the key of what are you looking at? What's your perception? How are you looking at things, and that's what I've just been channeling and trying to work on myself, right? Like, what is my vision on? What is my perception manifesting? um, because what we see is what it'll be, right? And so
mhm.
I'm so grateful to be here
Yeah.
and be back. And hey, Reverend Tia. Um, just as I always say, excited to be here amongst brilliant minds. Not always excited to talk about what we're talking about because what we're talking about, we shouldn't even have to be talking about, right? Um, but we are. And even more than talking about it, um, the continued efforts that continue to take place to uplift the atrocities of wrongful convictions, um, not just here in this state of Michigan, but all of the connections abroad as well that we have been connected to. And so that's why I'm grateful for this platform and you bringing us all together, Jay. It's funny because you was looking for somebody you was looking for somebody who was doing something about wrongful conviction, and then but then you just started doing so much, and just all of the things and the efforts that you continue to do, as well as this platform continuing to uplift not just Gerard, but wrongful convictions in general.
Mhm.
So I just salute you on your birthday month. I thank you for your commitment um, to all of us, to this movement, and I just want you to know that you're appreciated, Jay. You do a lot, and I don't think I don't want to say an unsung hero, right? But you are definitely one that is like that ram in the bush, that one that people can count on to do that righteous thing. So thank you. I love you. God bless you. Let's get it, because this conversation tonight is much needed. And you know, anytime Diane is on, she coming on smacking domes. So I'm just gonna sit back on mute tonight and let Diane and let y'all take us away.
Yes. So speaking of uh, amazing minds, I remember when I first encountered Miss Diane was really on a video, and I saw her on a video on Detroit Will Breathe, and they did I don't want to call it a town hall meeting, but they had this display where they were talking about, injustice. And she was talking about Detroit police officers and the ones that had so many um, complaints against them. I think one had over 85 and he was being promoted. When I was listening to her, I'm like, I have to meet this lady because she is spectacular. She's giving out these facts, and I found out about her newspaper, and then I finally met her, and she's amazing. And I'm just so honored to be in the company of all of you guys, and with this being Women History Month, and we're out here doing this work. I just want people to know that women are very important to these movements, and many of these movements would not have happened without women. So on that, I want to bring in the most amazing person, Miss Diane Bruskowski. Hello, Diane.
Hello. Hello, Jay, and Tia, and Trichet. It's good to see you all, and happy birthday to you, Jay. I didn't know this was your birthday month. So,
Yes, thank you.
yeah, well deserved. Congratulations to you.
Thank you. So, Diane, welcome. I'm so happy. I'm always happy when you say yes. Because it's
I
so much
appreciate
going
it.
on, and you're like right in it. And so
Yes.
um let's talk about what you're talking about. $10 million um verdict for wrongful conviction in Detroit. I'll let you start, and then we will fit the videos in as we go.
Okay. I'm trying to get my phone adjusted here so it doesn't wobble. Uh, since my computer didn't work with it. Okay. All right. Yes. Uh, on, let's see, what date was that? At the end of February, Alexandre Ansari, who was one of the people wrongfully convicted in the city of Detroit and Wayne County, and he was exonerated in 2019 after the efforts of the Wayne County Conviction Integrity Unit along with the Federal Defenders Office. And he received a $10 million jury verdict award. Now, most of the time, these cases don't even get to a jury in Detroit. Normally, there's a settlement, and in this case, it went all the way to the jury. And what attorney Wolf Mueller said about it, I believe the jury came away with two things in this trial: that Alex Ansari was innocent, and that the defendant, Detective Moises Jimenez, was lying and was protecting a major Mexican drug cartel leader from going to prison by focusing on my client, whom he called a nobody, to protect Jimenez's own family from harm if he tried to charge the cartel leader. I'm not actually sure if this guy was a cartel leader, because more looking into this, I see he was accused of drug dealing. And so it's kind of in the story that Alexandre Ansari's $10 million false conviction verdict. I also talk about the fact that despite this tremendous verdict, it's the highest in the city's history so far. The next highest was the conviction that was thrown out on Mubarak Ahmed, and that was also a case that Wolfgang Mueller handled. That was a $9.95 million verdict involving a police officer, Ernest Wilson, that had deliberately steered a witness to identify Mubarak Ahmed, among other matters that took place in his case that were atrocious. It makes you wonder what is going on in the Detroit Police Department and why this situation hasn't been remedied, why it likely continues, because we still have cases out there that the prosecutor is pursuing. In the case of Darrell Ewing, another case in the case of Thelonious Searcy, who was exonerated, but now Kim Worthy has appealed that to the Court of Appeals and continues to torture people with their even after their convictions were overturned, continues to torture them. It's actually a rather common occurrence across the country. Some exonerees have been tried several, 5 and 6 times after it was clear they were innocent in other cities. But here they're continuing to try Darrell Ewing and Dorico Searcy, and they're challenging the verdict, the exoneration of Thelonious Searcy, and that needs to stop. In the Alexandre Ansari case, he was convicted of the killing of the murder of a little young girl, Ileana Cuevas. She was 15 years old and was killed in a drive-by shooting, and was exonerated after investigations by the Federal Appellate Defenders Office in the Wayne County Conviction Integrity Unit. And he was previously charged in the murder of another man in a separate incident. Both incidents involved Detective Moises Jimenez. Now, Jimenez is a multiple offender. He was also involved in the wrongful conviction of Kenneth Nixon, who was convicted of arson fire that led to the deaths of 3 people in his community. And it turns out that they had deliberately, the prosecution in his case, had deliberately steered the conviction of Kenneth Nixon by recruiting a jailhouse informant, a snitch. And that was the reason the conviction integrity, that Kim Worthy overturned the conviction, because of the false testimony of the jailhouse snitch. However, the prosecutor's office was not innocent in this case, although Kim Worthy generally tries to blame the police officers only. In this case, Patrick Muscat, who was the prosecutor at the time, who also prosecuted Devontae Sanford and Thelonious Searcy in their wrongful conviction cases, he sent memos to the police in the jail where Kenneth Nixon was being held to interview their cellmates of Kenneth Nixon and his girlfriend, who was acquitted actually at trial. That was his co-defendant. And that basically he solicited the perjured testimony that came from, and it was Moises Jimenez that actually did the interview with Stanley January, who was the jailhouse informant. So they're not by any means innocent. Kim Worthy has also tried to cover up the identities in her press releases on exonerations. She didn't put the role of Patrick Muscat. She hasn't, in another case involving Officer Donald Hughes, the exoneration of Marvin Cotton and Anthony Legion. She did not indicate in her press release who the police officer was. In the case, she had about 10 points that she condemned the police officer for in terms of the illegal things that he had done, but never put his name in there. His name is Donald Hughes. That finally came out in one of the lawsuits filed, the civil lawsuits filed on behalf of Marvin Cotton and Anthony Legion. and he's been involved in several other cases that have come to light where he beat young girls, 16 years old, in 2 different cases, and that are still going right now, are still being adjudicated. The people are not out yet, but the prosecutor's office knew that he had done this because one of the witnesses, who was the young girl, testified in the first trial that he had beat her, and that was recognized by the Court of Appeals when they adjudicated the appeal from the individual. They said that that was pretty horrible that had been done. However, they held the case harmless, that there was still enough information to convict the guy. Now, those cases, those guys are still in prison. And but Donald Hughes, in the part of this story where I talk about all the cops in Detroit, and that's not all of them. I've got a picture up there of Moises Jimenez, Ernest Wilson, and various other cops who have been responsible for wrongful convictions that amounted to very many, over $45 million in the city of Detroit. There's Moises Jimenez was responsible for the Alexandre Ansari one. That's 10 million. Ernest Wilson for Mubarak Ahmed, 9.95 million. In the case of Devontae Sanford, there's 3 officers, Michael Russell, James Talbot, and Dale Collins, that were involved in convicting that little young kid, 14 years old, for killing 4 adults in a so-called drug house. It was actually a weed house at the time. And then you have Barbara Simon, Catherine Adams, Rodney Jackson, and Wayne Pritchett, who were involved in the Justly Johnson and Kendrick Scott wrongful convictions, which cost the city $16 million. Also involved in the case of Barbara Simon was also involved in the case of Mark Craighead, another exoneree. You have William Rice and Monica Childs involved in the cases of Larry Smith, Ramon Ward, and Bernard Howard. Those cases are still being litigated civilly. The 3 men are exonerated, but as you know, the convictions were dropped anyway. Then you go back even further, and back to the 80s. The police department in Detroit has been a cesspool of really horrible practices on the part of the police, and to wrongfully convict people, beatings, all sorts of things. In the case of Danny Burton, who was wrongfully convicted, Ronald Sanders was the officer. He just died a little while ago. I exposed him in the case on Willie Merriweather, who is still in prison. But Danny Burton was also involved in the case of Danny Burton, where again he beat and threatened a 14-year-old girl, I believe it was, with consequences if she didn't identify him. He's been involved in Ronald Sanders. Donald Hughes, as I mentioned, in the Marvin Cotton and Anthony Legion cases. And then you have what is really atrocious. I just ran into a young woman that at the post office the other day, whose boyfriend was one of the people that was raped and sodomized and raped by Michael Parrish and Michael Osmond, the Booty Boys cops that we talked about earlier, and that exposed in the Michigan Citizen back in 2006 through 2009. And Michael Parrish now is, they cost the city some money. They didn't cost them big settlements, but they still cost the city money. The city denies to this day that anything that they did was wrong, that despite the testimony that I covered of dozens of witnesses, young men on the young and older men on the Southwest side, black men, who had been brutalized by them during traffic stops, by them doing illegal cavity searches, abusing them otherwise sexually in terms of fondling them. And these are white officers that did that to black men. Michael Parrish is now the chief assistant to Detroit Police Chief James White. And James White has, in a meeting that he had in a church sometime back in 2022, he introduced Michael Parrish as a wonderful guy that had all sorts of things to his credit that he'd known for 14 years. Well, it turns out 14 years ago was the exact year that one of my articles in the Michigan Citizen was published, identifying Michael Parrish and Michael Osmond. They were never held accountable in any way, and instead they've been promoted. Michael Parrish all the way up to the top of the chain. And it's just typical. I can't tell, in one show, I can't really talk about all the police officers that I've seen in the cases that I've investigated for the Voice of Detroit. And but this is not only an issue, in the case of Detroit having to pay out that kind of money, what actually happened, Conrad Mallett, when he took over as the city's chief corporation counsel, when the controversy was going on about all the amounts the city was paying out, he ended up, now he was a Supreme Court justice and he knew he shouldn't do this. He ended up putting, there was a Channel 7 report from Ross Jones in which he told Ross Jones that the city is now no longer allowing anybody to have access to the disciplinary records of police officers if they're older than 4 years. There are police officers in this city, dead and alive, that have been doing wrong for decades. You can't limit anything to 4 years. The same thing happened actually in the Crime Lab Task Force scandal with when it came out, when the Detroit Crime Lab was closed and it was discovered that there was all sorts of false reports coming from the crime lab. And there was a Crime Lab Task Force that was set up by several guys in the Michigan prisons along with their families. And to expose that. Now, Kim Worthy, after the struggle to expose, to get justice for the people that had been wrong, it was over 1,000 guys wrongfully convicted because of false forensics evidence. It ended up, the task force was fighting to get them all adjudicated, to get them all exonerated. And Kim Worthy ended up limiting it, saying that she would only review cases from 2003 to 2008, which there's many other guys still in prison as a result of that crime lab fiasco, as a result of that criminal crime lab. So it basically, the situation with both the police and the Wayne County prosecutor in the city has been one of continuing to cover up, continuing to hold, not to hold the people involved accountable. They should be held criminally accountable. In fact, in the case of Larry Smith, who was exonerated and is currently pursuing a lawsuit in the federal courts, Judge David Lawson, the district court judge there, said he knew that because Larry also sued the prosecutors involved and the county. Now, Judge David Lawson found in favor of the prosecutor in the county and dismissed the charges against them in the civil case, but he specified, he said that it is horrendous what appears to have happened in his case with the involvement of Monica Childs and all sorts and other officers that and the prosecutors that made that basically got him convicted. And he said, what needs to happen is that if, that he doesn't have any control over it in the civil arena, but that they can be criminally charged. And in fact, that's what's happened in other cities. Now, we just had a verdict in Chicago in the case of $17 million settlement on behalf of Jackie Wilson, the man in Chicago who was exonerated of the murders of 2 Chicago police officers. That settlement just came down. And in that case, the police, that was involving a really vicious group of police officers. There's been all sorts of other cases filed against them that was torturing people in a special unit. And in their case, they were tortured. They gave confessions after him and his brother, Jackie Wilson and Andrew Wilson, gave confessions after being tortured by the police. Now, Andrew Wilson died in prison, but Jackie Wilson finally prevailed. Did you want to say something, Jay?
Yeah, I have a video for that one.
Okay.
Jackie Wilson.
Yeah.
Let me play that one.
Yeah, and see, Detroit's going down the same path, but Detroit's going to have to end up paying out a lot more money still. It's just, there's at least 17 lawsuits pending in the courts against the city of Detroit for the behavior of the behavior of the Detroit police.
I'm going to play this one now.
$1 million settlement. Jackie Wilson was exonerated for those 1982 murders. The courts found that he was tortured into confessing, this by police officers under former Sergeant John Burge. Today, the Cook County Board approving a settlement and ending his civil rights lawsuit. A man who spent 36 years in prison for murder.
Yeah, so that was the Jackie Wilson one. And then I have this other one.
Who was wrongfully accused of fatally shooting a 15-year-old girl in Detroit back in 2013. His attorney, Wolf Mueller, who also joins us now, helped Alexandre win his exoneration and a historic $10 million verdict. We thank you both so much for being here. Alexandre, you served more than 6 years of a life sentence for a murder you did not commit. You always maintained your innocence. How does it feel to finally get justice in your case?
I'm just thankful that the jury finally seen all the evidence and was able to, bring me justice.
We're talking about $10 million for roughly 6 years. I guess if you do the math, it's about $1.6 million a year. Of course, I don't know how you put a valuation on those years that were lost, but do you feel in the end that this compensation is fair?
I believe so. I put it in the jury's hands. So, I felt like they evaluated the right way.
You were 27 years old at the time. Tell us about what you feel that you've lost during that 6 years that you've been incarcerated.
I lost a lot. My granny was the main person in my life. And, unfortunately, she can't be here now, but I'm thankful for the tools that she gave me to be able to fight,
What kinds of hardships did you experience while behind bars?
Once I got the verdict back, my heart dropped. And I'm like, man, I got to spend the rest of my life in here for something I didn't do. And, I tried to kill myself.
Mm. And what was that? Because life behind bars was so difficult, or because you felt it was so unjust that you had been convicted for a crime you didn't commit?
I felt unjust. I felt like, nobody didn't put all the evidence together to see that I wasn't the person in the first place. So things started getting overwhelming for me.
And Wolf, the jury ruled that a former Detroit police detective hid evidence from prosecutors in Alexandre's case. That detective reportedly feared for his life because the real perpetrator was part of a drug cartel. The City of Detroit Law Department maintains, even to this day, that the detective provided all of the evidence he uncovered. How do you respond to their promise to appeal?
I think their appeal will go nowhere, frankly. The jury heard all the evidence that this detective had a cozy relationship with the cartel leaders in Southwest Detroit and had protected the cartel leader because he feared for his own safety. If he put the cartel leader away for murder, he would be sentenced, just like Alex, to life without parole. And he feared retaliation from the cartel, so he hid the evidence and purposely directed the investigation away from the cartel leader, even though he testified there was no doubt the cartel leader was behind the shooting and the murder.
And with what role did the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office Conviction Integrity Unit play in Alexandre's exoneration?
They were instrumental in first uncovering all of this evidence. If it wasn't for them, and I give kudos not only to the CIU and their director, Valerie Newman, but Wayne County Prosecutor Kim Worthy. It's the same prosecutor's office that convicted him 5 years earlier. They discovered the evidence. They realized they had been deceived and it had been a miscarriage of justice, and they did the right thing and voluntarily dismissed criminal charges.
Alexandre, you now have your life back. What plans do you have, and what are you looking forward to most?
Mostly just to, live a life that I missed, and just invest in, try to get back to the universe, basically.
Alexandre Ansari and Wolf Mueller, we thank you both so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you.
So, Miss Diane, the end of the video when he thanks Kim Worthy, that's the part that kind of irritated me, because he said this is the same prosecutor's office that convicted this man, and they found the evidence and overturned the case. But did they charge? They didn't even charge anybody. They felt like they were giving false information, but they didn't do anything.
They didn't in Devontae Sanford's case. Actually, Vincent Smothers confessed to the murders in Devontae Sanford's case, and he's never been charged with those murders. He's in prison for 8 other murders. He was a hitman, but he's never been charged. He's never been charged with the murder in Thelonious Searcy's case, which he also had committed and admitted to on the stand during an evidentiary hearing in Searcy's case in great detail that was consistent with the forensic evidence in the case and all the other facts in the case. And he still has not faced charges in that case, the man that was murdered in that case. And instead, what Kim Worthy is doing is trying to get, what they want is, instead of, in Thelonious Searcy's case, he was Judge Thomas Hathaway. He had got the case for a retrial, but after he looked into everything, he decided that the behavior of the prosecutor and the judge in the case, who was Timothy Kenny, he was the trial judge and became the chief judge, and he's still out there. He was just on TV yesterday talking about the conviction of the 2 parents in the school shooting case in Oakland County. And okay, I kind of lost my train of thought for a minute there. But anyway, she's busy trying to get a new trial instead of having the convictions dismissed with prejudice, which is what Judge Thomas Hathaway did in Sean's case, in Thelonious Searcy's case, which is totally outrageous. It's a devotion of the taxpayer money and the time of all those prosecutors in the situations that, they're not going after the real people, the real murderers. In Darrell Ewing's case, in fact, today, Kim Worthy and Cam Towns were just on TV. Now, Cam Towns was the prosecutor, the lead prosecutor in the cases of Darrell Ewing and Dorico Searcy. And that is a case where there is another man that has strongly confessed to the charges. There was all sorts of other evidence. There was no real evidence to show that Darrell Ewing and Dorico Searcy had anything to do with with the murder in that case and the wounding of another man. And they're still sitting in jail right now, awaiting a second trial. We'll see what happens with that. There's been some developments lately, but I was outraged to see Cam Towns up there with Kim Worthy. Cam Towns is now working in the state prosecutor's office with the LGBTQ task force, and they're trying a young man in the killing of a transgender woman. But that needs to be closely watched, because after what Cam Towns did in the cases of Darrell Ewing and Dorico Searcy, I have no confidence in her that that's going to be a legitimate prosecution. The same way in the case. Yeah, go ahead.
They have all these bad actors that nobody ever pursues, that they're not getting any charges. There's no accountability. And so that just opens the door to others to do it, or because they know nothing's going to happen to them. And we see in all of these cases that if they are exonerated, there's nothing else but oops, we made a mistake, and we're not even a oops. They may dismiss the charges or may do it with prejudice or whatever. Like, a lot of these people are not even exonerated. However, nobody else is taking accountability of the wrong. And with $10 million, 10 million, people have to understand $10 million is not those officers paying it. It's not the Detroit police paying it. It is the citizens of the city of Detroit that are paying these verdicts. $10 million, $9.5 million. These are the citizens. These will affect programs and all kinds of things, because they just can't pull $10 million out the hat. They don't just have it sitting to the side. That's why they probably really want to fight it, because they really don't have $10 million to just give to people that been wrong. But this is what's happening. And so when Attorney Mack or Trichet, they talk about it a lot, qualified immunity. These are the things that we really should be looking at, because we're paying for it. And it's constantly happening. There's no stop to it. And although, we've been hearing it a lot since the Oxford shooting, the qualified immunity conversation. But this is a real conversation that we need to have, where we're going to continue to pay out these sizable lawsuits and nothing all the time.
And then meanwhile, you have likely dozens, if not thousands, of people still in prison as a result of the machinations of the same cops and prosecutors involved in the exonerees cases. And no investigation has been done on their behalf by the prosecutor's office to see what happened in their cases. Those cops were already the ones in my article that I just talked about. They're involved in other people's cases. Mark McLeod, who's in the MDOC, he's a lifer there, and he's conducting a whole campaign to get attention brought to the fact that there's still all sorts of people. He's interviewed people. He's got people that have signed up with his campaign that are in prison, who had the same officers and prosecutors involved in their cases, and nothing has been done. In other cities, that's happened, actually. In Boston and I believe Philadelphia, there's been investigations by the prosecutor's office to looking into what happened in both with the police and with the prosecutors. In the case of Jawan Deering here, who was convicted in Oakland County, wrongfully convicted. That case, the prosecutor there, Karen McDonald, who is the prosecutor also on the Oxford shooting case, had called for an investigation of what happened by her office. And a special investigation is ongoing about Jawan Deering's unjust conviction and exoneration.
I haven't heard of any such investigation in Wayne County.
No, none. And
I want to. Go ahead. Go ahead. Ms.
No, go ahead, Jay.
I was going to say that it's constantly ongoing, and that's the reason why, you know, we've been talking a lot in the task force, the wrongful conviction task force meeting about a national movement, because you need, in these cities like this, Detroit, we need somebody outside to come in and look at these, because the police, and Attorney Matt probably can talk about this a little more, but the police and the prosecutor, they work closely together, right? Supposedly on these cases. So when the prosecutor say, oh, we've been duped by this officer, and, you know, he tricked us too, so we're going to just dismiss the case. That's crap, because somebody had to know something wasn't right if they're working close together for these cases. And just in case they was duped, you know, by this police officer, why wouldn't they press charges? You know, that makes your office look kind of bad, because you did do your due diligence. You know, you just went on this officer's word or whatever, and then he's a part of other cases. But then that makes us second guess this office, because 6 years ago, that's still Kim Worthy. That's still her office. Yes.
She's not only in the wrongful conviction arena, but I've been following Kim Worthy since 2004, when I was writing with the Michigan, when I was reporting with the Michigan Citizen, and also working with the Detroit Coalition Against Police Brutality. She has refused to charge any Detroit police officer in the murder of dozens of people in the city of Detroit whose families campaigned to get charges, not just settlements, not just money. They wanted to see those officers go to prison, like Eugene Brown, who was involved in the killings of 3 men. That never happened. These officers continue with their careers. Eugene Brown got a master's degree and retired, and it's just atrocious. And Kim Worthy brags about having been the prosecutor in the cases Budson and Nevers. But since that time, there has not been a single Detroit police officer that she has charged with murder. Now, she's charged on some other more minor cases. In the case of Ileana Jones, that's another whole situation. She didn't even charge the cop that killed Ileana Jones. That was done by a grand jury, which consisted of Timothy Kenny. She charged Ileana's father and uncle. The father finally was able to get a reversal in part of his conviction because of the tremendous, many people, even in the prosecutor's office, were contacting me then about how they thought that whole situation was so unjust. The little girl, 7 years old, gets killed in it wasn't botched. It was just a police raid that they were bragging about on TV, on the TV. It was being filmed nationally. And so there was no charges brought against anyone except for minor charges against Joseph Weekly, the actual officer that fired the gun. And his case was finally dismissed. No, he never had to spend time for any of that. and he wasn't the only one that was liable. The whole crew, the whole team, the police chief at the time, all of them that put that travesty of a raid together. No charges have ever been brought. And the fact that James White continues to have Michael Parrish up there as his top assistant. Now, I contacted them. I contacted the police department and the city about that, and they just refused to acknowledge the fact that that happened, the Booty Boy situation. Now, the lady I talked to, I don't think I finished talking about that. The young woman I talked to at the post office, her boyfriend is one of the people that brought lawsuits, because he was one of the people victimized by them. And she was telling me, I'm planning to probably do an upcoming story on this situation, so I'm not using names right now. But she was telling me that the people that came out against those cops are continuing to this day to be abused by police in the city of Detroit. In fact, she told me about a case where she and her niece and daughter had been groped and fondled by police officers in the city of Detroit during a traffic stop, when they were it wasn't really a traffic stop. They were sitting in their car in front of their home. And that remains to be fleshed out in the story. But I want to, it's just shocking to me that nothing, it's like they said, oh, well, as far as the fact that Michael Parrish was accused of rape and sodomy in all sorts of cases that were legitimate, that were publicized at the city council. The victims went in front of the city council. Joanne Watson was campaigning for him. And there's like, oh, well, we don't think that's the case. This is a good guy now. He's helping people now.
Well,
it's appalling. It's just appalling to see it. And James White has this reputation, I think, with the mainstream media. He's kind of bland and innocent looking. His face, he's not as evil looking maybe as James Craig, but the media seems to just cater to him.
Mm-hmm.
So everything else that's going on in this city, as far as the police, is really under the radar.
And we talking about Detroit, which is number 2 under Chicago, who is out number 1 for the most exonerees. I got some videos from Chicago. First, I want to show this one.
Folks don't know that Chicago is the wrongful conviction capital of the United States and the torture capital of the United States, and most of the people being tortured and wrongfully convicted are black and brown folks in Chicago. And these cops who are doing the torturing and conviction, they're being trained in Israel. All the major cities in the United States send thousands of officers over to Israel to be trained, by Israeli police in these brutal tactics that they fine tune on Palestinians. You know what I mean? And so they come back here and use them on black people in the United States. It's very real, very, very, very immediate consequences that black people here in the United States suffer because of the tactics that Israel uses on Palestinians. So black liberation is Palestinian liberation. And that's why, when you see like the comments and all that shit we made in City Hall, this shit is real for us. Peace and love.
Yeah. Here's go ahead, Miss Diane.
Oh, yeah, the story that I currently have on the top of the Voice of Detroit is actually a story about a massive march in Detroit that happened a couple of weeks ago and was not publicized in the rest of the mainstream media. The only reason I found out about it was I got an email from the National Lawyers Guild about the police arresting people on it. It was a march in support of the Palestinians, calling for an end to the genocide that's taking place over there in Gaza. And it just typifies the fact that the media in this country is so entrenched in the U.S. and Israel lobby, in the U.S. and Israel cover-up, that they refuse to acknowledge anything of what's going on there. And, you know, Detroit, I was so excited to see the march. Fortunately, there was a young man that had videotaped it on Facebook. And that's how I found the video of it. And it's an excellent video. People should look at that and wonder how come there wasn't any coverage by the mainstream stations in this city to let them know that people here are protesting what's happening there in Gaza.
Yeah. I have this some more from Chicago.
Exonerated Chicago brothers Sean Tyler and Reginald Henderson say they will get justice after a Cook County judge has delayed their petition for certificates of innocence.
The delay, you know, is something we can't control, so the only thing we can do is just wait for it to play out. It kind of sucks that justice takes this long.
The decision comes despite no objection to the petition by the Cook County State's Attorney's Office, which opposed the initial filing a year ago. In court, Judge Erica Reddick said that she needed more time to review the current filing before issuing any ruling.
I think the court needs to ensure that we've met our burden of proving that these gentlemen are innocent.
A certificate of innocence would not only expunge Tyler and Henderson's murder convictions, but would also allow the men to receive compensation for their wrongful incarceration.
How does the court system can rapidly find them guilty, then take eons to find them not guilty? It's some misjustice going on here.
Both brothers say that in 1994, they were among the hundreds of men tortured into making false confessions nearly 30 years ago by corrupt detectives trained under disgraced former Chicago police commander John Burge.
Enough is enough. This is just one family amongst millions of other families that's impacted by the same thing.
Most would think that after being released from prison, life would be easier, but it hasn't been. Both brothers have struggled with losing family members and time following their unjust convictions.
We're not bitter, but we're better men from the situation that has occurred.
Both Tyler and Henderson were exonerated in 2021, but they still say they're not free.
The exonerated brothers say all they want is their good name back. They're due back in court April 2nd.
Reverend Tia, go ahead.
You know what? It's just something how it's either the get my name back or and you pay out money, or you continue to try to smear my name so you don't have to pay, which is really ridiculous. You know, Diana, I love the work that you've been doing, that you have dedicated to the city and to the people of Detroit and Wayne County, because these are the we got to figure out really why we go silent. And I think this is not the time to go silent. We really need to be looking to see who can we lift up as far as who are we voting for in the counties, and get that list going. Because what I'm hearing, and I don't know if anybody else cringes, especially because it is Women's History Month, but I am every time I cringe at the stream of consistency of sexual molestation among police officers. And I'm just, what is that all about? You know, people should be enraged. Where does that even come from? My grandmother used to always say, there's no middle line. There's just nasty and not nasty. And this goes into the nasty category. And these people still are getting promoted. And so when you look at these are brutal tactics, like you said. I like how Diane said the cesspool of horrible practices among the police. And it's time to hold them criminally accountable. And I mean, we have to keep speaking the same language across the board so we get the right responses. But you know, they've done studies, they studied this stuff. Well, you know, they do articles and studied all of this, and yet these people are still getting they still get pensions and everything. But they have a whole study out here on these sexual tactics because of power dynamics, because of a lack of accountability, because of the cultural practice of silence. And I think the silence is kicking our tail. and the
Mhm.
systemic issues that are there. What'd you say, Diane?
Oh, no, I was just nodding to you, acknowledging what
Yeah,
you were saying.
yeah, the silence, because people go silent. I think people go silent because of fear, especially the ones that are involved, and then the society itself, our communities go silent because they're afraid too. What happens if I get involved? And then, of course, it's the vulnerability of the people who are victimized, you know. But this is not, I guess I'm trying to tell people today, this is not the time to go silent. I know Trishay's gonna talk about the event tomorrow. We can't go silent on anything, because everything is important. And Diane, like if you have people that we need to focus on that are bringing fair practices to the city, to the county, let us know, because we don't know everybody, but we need to know who's doing right so we can target them so they can get into the seat of governing or of authority. I see Attorney Mack is here.
I was going to call Attorney Matt. Hey, Attorney Matt.
Ladies. I just been taking it all in, you know. Had some legal matters to take care of. I apologize, could not get on till now, but I've certainly been taking it all in and glad to be with all of y'all tonight.
We're glad to have you.
Yeah, Attorney Matt.
Oh boy.
Attorney Mack, we waiting on you. We waiting on you.
Okay, now see. You know what? Now here I am. I didn't come in. You know, the discussion going all good. You know, there was a scene in Scarface where Tony Montana, you know, he was saying he just wanted to get out the game. He was tired. He wanted to get out the game, but he said, every time I try to get out, they drag me back in. Now see, I've come on late to the show and we're in the middle of a great conversation. And I said, well, you know what? We're just going to slide all in and keep the conversation going, stuff like that. But you see, I can tell my public, they don't want to let me get out. See, they
Not at all.
So, you know, J Love, I'm willing to forego that this week and stuff. It's a very serious conversation. I mean, I will do whatever you ladies, you know, would like, but you know, I mean, sometimes I feel the audience is just demanding stuff. And so, I mean, you know, but you know, so I'm here, J Love, and I'll be happy to take part in the conversation or, well, I think you know. So,
right. We know, Attorney Mack. I was just, while you're talking, I just saw an article on yesterday, and I'm trying to find it, but it was talking about, it was a Twitter post, actually, and they were talking about how many police officers who have committed sexual assault on doing traffic stops.
Mm-hmm.
And the numbers is really up there. And so, I mean, in this day and time, you already have to worry about, you know, being targeted or pulled over, you know, in these predatory traffic situations. But now as women, you got to be concerned about someone also molesting you who is supposed to be helping you, or
yeah, that's true.
You know,
that's true.
Law in 2024. I mean, it's a big thing. It's just going under the radar. They're not really talking about it, but there's a whole article with all the statistics and everything. And if I find it, I'm going to put it in the chat. But it's a really big thing.
Because I can get that to the young woman I talked to at the post office. And to kind of encourage her. I don't think she ever filed a suit or anything about what happened to her and her niece and daughter a couple of years ago. But that's probably much more common than people know in Detroit.
Yeah. So what Reverend T was saying, I was like, I just saw that article just yesterday. So I'm going to try to find it for you. And I'm going to forward it to you also, Miss Diane, because we need to be concerned about that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they tolerate a rapist at the top of the chain, and you know, a man that was raping men, and they're tolerating that. So what you can imagine what else they must be tolerating in the ranks in the city of Detroit.
Right. I want to go back to the videos. We have another one that is also two other, and when we're talking about Illinois' Cook County, number one for I know 5 years straight are the most exonerated because of all the corruption that they had, the abuse, the beatings, and all that. This is another case. I have another one.
A joyful walk to freedom tonight for a man who had been charged in the murder of a Chicago police officer. Tyrone Clay is out of the county jail and reunited with his family.
This don't even feel real. What is real, you know? I gotta thank God. 'Cause if it weren't for him, I don't know where I'd be.
It's been a long journey for me and my family. Tyrone is my only son. He's not a perfect son, but he's a good man.
And Wednesday, after more than a decade awaiting trial, locked up at the Cook County Jail, her son, Tyrone Clay, and his co-defendant, Edgardo Colon, are free men.
Edgardo spent 10 years in Cook County Jail and elsewhere for a crime he didn't commit.
The two were charged in the 2011 murder of Officer Clifton Lewis, who died in a shooting at a convenience store where he was working security. Charges against Clay and Colon dropped after their legal team successfully argued that their confessions were coerced by police, who they allege then buried evidence that would have exonerated them, including cell phone records.
True, the police knew at the time this crime happened that Edgardo was 3 miles away. And what did they do with that evidence? They destroyed it.
While it is a wonderful day for our clients, it is a long time coming. 12 years. Mr. Clay has served 12 years in the Cook County Jail for a crime he didn't do.
I knew my son was innocent of this crime from the very beginning. I knew he was. When he looked me in my eyes and he said, "Mama, I did not do this."
Despite their release, a third co-defendant, Alexander Villa, remains in custody for Clifton Lewis's murder.
It's terrible that Alexander Villa is still in jail with everything we've uncovered.
The Cook County State's Attorney's Office released a statement today saying it dropped charges against the men because it did not believe it could meet the burden of proof in this case. However, Kim Fox's office did not address allegations by the men's defense attorneys that her own staff members also suppressed evidence. At the Cook County Jail, Anthony Ponce, Fox 32 Chicago.
Wow.
That's very interesting.
Wow, we have one more, you guys.
Now 30 years old, Darian Harris is free for the first time since he was a high school senior.
Less than a week ago, you said this is what you dreamed about. How does this reality stack up to that dream?
It don't even feel real right now, but I made it. I just want to thank Kim Fox. I want to thank my family and friends and my wife for supporting me. I want to thank everybody that believed in me.
Darian first wrote to me about his case more than 4 years ago, telling me he had proof in the form of medical records that the eyewitness in his case was actually legally blind when he claimed to have seen Harris pull the trigger in a June 2011 murder at this BP gas station at 66th and Stony Island. There was no physical evidence against Harris, who was convicted on that testimony and sentenced to 76 years in prison. He sat down with me last week after his sentence was vacated, but at the time, the Cook County State's Attorney's Office still planned to retry it.
I was trying to tell the people all this time, he's lying, and this is what came about. He was really lying.
But today, in a sudden shift, the charges were dropped altogether. He left the Cook County Jail in a brand new sweatsuit and sneakers, flanked by his wife, family, and supporters who are so ready to welcome him home.
Happiest moment of my life.
What's your word to everybody who's still fighting?
I fought. Just keep on fighting. Everybody just keep on fighting, never give up. And then don't stop here, though. It don't stop here at all. It's a lot of more people to free.
Harris says he wants to study to become a lawyer and help other wrongfully convicted people in his, now former, shoes. At the Cook County Jail, Megan Hickey, CBS 2 Investigators.
They took
Well,
just
I
those
can't wait till the day Darrell Ewing and Dorico Searcy come out of that Wayne County Jail in the same fashion. It just made me think about them.
It's just,
you know what's amazing is once they come out, there's no resolve because they were too busy trying to convict somebody who was innocent. So then the person who actually did it, do they go back and look for them?
No, never.
I haven't
That
heard
doesn't
one
happen.
case.
Hasn't happened in the city of in Wayne County.
I never see them go back and say, well, we need to find the person who did it. I mean, in Cook County, the guy was legally blind.
The witness, yeah.
That's amazing. And they went with his testimony.
Because they didn't care.
And I think that's where we're going with this. They did not care. And they don't care if they actually, so actually getting the right person who did it is not a concern. Is that where we are in our legal system?
Once you are the target of the investigation, that's it. They drop all other any other things that they're focused on, and they put all their focus on that person, and they do whatever they need to do to prove that that person did it. Not that they're innocent. That's not a concern. They're concerned about their narrative. And so that's where we come in. You know, if they're not going to be concerned, we need to be concerned because this happens to innocent people. That young man was a high school student.
Wow.
So when we talk about these wrongful convictions, we have to, you know, look at it like this could happen to me. This could happen to a loved one. This could happen to a family member. Like, because these people were innocent. There's somebody family member. Like the previous video, there's one gentleman, he was like 3 miles away when this happened. You know, this crime happened. When we talk about Paula Kinsu husband, he was what? He would have had to flew a helicopter and do all kinds of stuff.
All the way down from the Upper Peninsula to Port Huron, where he was.
Like how he was that determined to kill somebody that he would have took a helicopter, you know.
And he was penniless at the time. He was up there in the Upper Peninsula and didn't have any money. And the prosecutor that prosecuted him used his own pilot, it turned out later, to estimate how long it would have taken. The prosecutor's own private pilot. That prosecutor afterwards became a U.S. District Court judge and is still sitting on the bench.
Now the prosecutor had his own pilot.
Yeah, where did he get the money for that, I wonder, as a prosecutor?
Exactly. How he can afford a pilot. And when even with Larry Smith, you know, when we talk about innocent kid and how they, if you listen to his story, you guys, you have to go to Wrongful Convictions, Jason Flown, and listen to Larry Smith's story. He was an innocent kid. He wasn't in trouble for anything. And 26, he went because his mother called, said the police was, you know, looking for him. But meanwhile, the police did all these things to set this kid up, you know, all these things, planted the evidence, all kinds of stuff. And so, again, when we're talking about this, we ain't just talking about, we're talking about corrupt people that's in
highly corrupt
authority in places of power. And that if we can't get rid of them, then we need to get rid of the bosses. We need to get rid of all the bosses and hire the new ones. And that's what we need to. We got elections coming out, and we need to get serious about this. Because if you're not calling out your employees, if you're not taking accountability of your employees, if you want to hide evidence and all this kind of stuff, then why are we still voting for these people?
Well, the thing that comes to my mind right now is when those issues are not addressed, all the people that are in prison unjustly in this system. Look at what's going on in Haiti right now. Now, I'm not talking about all the specifics of who the players are and everything, but that was historic events in Haiti when the people stormed the prisons and let the prisoners in Haiti out. The French Revolution was started by the storming of the Bastille. And the way they're going in this country, they're setting themselves up for a similar situation because it's just too much. The Attica brothers rose up in 1971, were slaughtered and murdered. And after that, the prison system was clamped down even tighter on people in retaliation for their heroics and George Jackson and everybody else that was fighting back then. And it's created a cauldron, a seething cauldron in those prisons. Now, I don't know. I'm not saying there's going to be a similar rebellion here anytime soon. We don't know. But if it does come, it certainly deserves support.
Yeah. Did you want to say something, Robertina?
Well, I'm just, I think that right now we need to really look at who's backing the policy that says the officers and everybody's going to be held accountable. I think we need to continue to lift that up, because if you're not talking about accountability, then we might as well just stop what we're doing. Because that has to be one of the main things. There's no in the studies, it states that there's no accountability even within the departments. The biases are within the departments. The culture of discriminatory practices, that's within the departments. It's within the court systems. These are within the systems. That's why they're systemic, and so we can't just brush it over or think that it's just going to go away if we don't take action and identify. I mean, if two people that are officers are known as the booty boys, they should never be, no one should ever stop calling them that. Their names should have been put up on a billboard and still should be until they feel they should run away. There's this part in The Lion King when Scar was trying to, any Lion King lovers out there, was trying to pin the death of Mufasa on his son, and he looked at him and he said, "Run away, run far away." We need billboards. We need to talk about it so much that just the billboard alone and the conversations alone are telling these people, run away, run far away. They should not want to remain in the same climate, the same condition, the same location, because they should be afraid. They should feel horrible. But the reason why they can continue to stay there is because the climate hasn't changed. Environment hasn't changed. There's no changes.
Right. Like JL said, their minds are programmed to do injustice while pretending to do justice.
That's right.
They're talking about their doing justice, but committing all kinds of atrocities and misconduct and craziness. Trisha, I wanted Trisha to come back in because I want to talk about tomorrow right quick. Tomorrow, Trisha, is she back?
Yeah, I'm here.
Trisha.
First of all, we can talk about tomorrow, but I can't get over this booty boy shit. Excuse my friend. Um, I'm so sickened to know that this individual. See, this is what I'm saying, man. It's like our people are destroyed due to a lack of knowledge. We got people sitting in positions of power. That should be non-negotiable. I'm calling Daryl Woods, the commissioner, tomorrow with this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm finna tag him to this post. Like how in the world? First of all, just the implication alone, one, but multiple accounts?
Mm-hmm.
What are we? We should
Well,
be
you
ashamed of
didn't even
ourselves,
want the nickname Booty Boy,
right?
let alone to be
Honestly,
known for that.
I'm serious. Like I feel like as a people, we should be ashamed of ourselves because we are so sleep. We are so sleep that we keep allowing people to play in our faces
Mm-hmm.
over and over and
Mm-hmm.
over again. I sat through, and I'm sorry, I know you wanted to talk about,
Go ahead, Trisha.
but I'm just, oh my gosh, I sat through Robert Hines. Uh, what do they call it? Evidentiary hearing, and the prosecutor at that time, she's um, retired now, and I'm sure she's probably on your list, Diane. Her name is, I want to say Christine Nowall.
Oh, Kowal, I think. I think I've seen
Yeah,
her in cases.
yeah.
Yeah.
And when I tell you, this lady just lied and lied and lied, and they withheld evidence, and she kept saying, "Well, I can't agree with you." Talking to the defense, yeah, you can, because if you agree with him, then you're going to be agreeing to your misconduct. And they
Mm-hmm.
withheld evidence, and then they tried to introduce it as if they had introduced it all along when they did not. They got an affidavit from the lawyer that said she never got that evidence. All of this stuff amounts to lack of accountability.
Mm-hmm.
If we do not start to hold these people accountable, it can't just be Miss Diane. I thank the Lord that Miss Diane is, and I pray a hedge of protection around her even greater than it is right now.
Thank
But
you.
it can't just be on Miss Diane. Miss
Mm-hmm.
Diane is doing her part. We got to do ours. We gotta do
Yeah.
ours. We gotta stand together, and that's the problem because we don't want to stand there. Oh, I don't like you. Oh, I'm not. No, I
Yeah.
don't care. One thing that I know about our Caucasian siblings, they cannot like each other, but they gonna get the job done. They gonna stand together for that common goal and get the job done. We gotta
Some.
do the same. We gotta be focused on the goal and stop worrying about all the petty stuff in between because we got work to do. People are dying. People are in prison. So let's talk about tomorrow. People are in prison being treated as if they are nothing. They are being violated mentally. They are being physically violated. They are being Crystal Clark. Oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah.
Every time I look at her picture, I remember the first time I seen her picture, she did not look like that. And then it makes me think of Miss Teresa Dunlap, God rest her soul. The chemo, mold in her chemo port. What are we saying to these women? But not just to the women, because the men too, all around the Michigan Department of Corrections. We've got to hold these folks accountable. So tomorrow I ask you all, please show up. Please show up to Women Here on Valley Prison. We are going to be there. Silent Cry. This is powered by Silent Cry, who has also brought other organizations together. And we are standing together in unity to uplift the women, what they are going through, to demand justice, and to understand what marching orders look like. Because see, when it comes to the march or the rally, and I hear people say, "Oh, well, that don't really do nothing." Well, that's because you don't understand how to use the momentum of togetherness. Because see, for me, it ain't about the march; it's about the marching orders. Where do we go from here? So please show up tomorrow, y'all. Let's show the women that we have their backs.
Yes. And also, well, I got you here, Trisha, because I do want to leave off with Crystal. She did a couple of days ago. She made a recording, and so we're gonna leave off listening to Crystal. But Trisha, also, while you're here, I want to talk about the support group.
Yeah, so usually we meet the third Saturday of the month. But tomorrow, due to the rally, we are postponing it until the 23rd. That's next Saturday at 10 a.m. We are continuing to, no matter who is not available or no matter who's on the line, we are committed to show up and be there and be that sense of just togetherness for each other, families, advocates. We even have people on that didn't even know about wrongful convictions, but we're looking for a place of support and learning about wrongful convictions as well. So we just ask everyone to please, next Saturday at 10 a.m., we will be on for the wrongful conviction support group. And this next Saturday also as well. I'm really excited about this because that is again March the 23rd at 1 p.m. We are going to come together as a task force. Our goal is for to come together around legislation and qualified immunity. But there are so many layers to this work and what we need to do. And we are looking at how to leverage our stories in the midst of what's going on. So we're going to have a guest speaker, Bridget Brown Jackson is going to be with us talking about storytelling and how we can, when it comes to wrongful convictions, there's so much information to share. And so we're going to be looking at how we can get the information out, but also share that story as a way to pull on the heartstrings of those who may not even know about wrongful convictions as we are gearing up for our wrongful conviction documentary, which we are going to be filming primarily here in the state of Michigan, but we will have others outside of the state as part of that as well. We hope Miss Diane will come and be a part. We just want to shed the light, but also bring forth the solutions of what we can do to curve, one day we hope, end these atrocities of wrongful conviction. Thank you, Jay.
Yes. And then also another event we have coming up, and Reverend can speak to this as well. Michigan Coalition of Human Rights. We're going to be doing a wrongful conviction panel discussion at Oakland University. I met a young gentleman on the Michigan Coalition of Human Rights. We had the cabinet conversation a month ago. And so after that conversation, he asked if we can join them at Oakland University to educate the students there. So it would be myself, Attorney Hugo Mack, Trisha, Miss Trisha Duckworth, and exoneree Larry Smith as well as Rabbitier. And we're going to go out here to Oakland University and talk to the students about wrongful convictions. Go ahead, Rabbitier.
Yeah. I'm so excited about this event, as well as all others. But when we get to, because you've got to really speak to and teach, educate our upcoming leaders. The only reason why some leaders don't make changes is because a lot of times they just don't know. They don't know the truth. And even in the creation of the flyer, Jay did some training. And so I won't go into exactly what that was about, but because we have young people who are living life according to narratives that have been taught to them, sometimes they don't really know or understand what is actually happening in the community and why who's impacted, why are people being incarcerated that are wrongfully incarcerated. Why is this even happening? But you bring real stories, real people, real solutions to a campus. Now we're talking about real change. So I'm excited, Jay. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody on April 10th out at Oakland University.
Yes. Miss Diane, we need to take you with us too. Yes, because this is an opportunity for us to really educate a group of people who are not even, I don't want to say impacted, but this is not their conversation.
Right.
So.
Right.
So yeah, Attorney Matt, do you have anything to leave us with before we leave tonight?
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you, professors, because I've been just soaking all this in, and the thing of it is, I'm so glad you talked about coming up in April the 10th, I believe you said it was, because, as I'm going into the twilight of my career now, there's a need for us to pass this on to younger folks, okay?
Yeah.
This knowledge cannot die with us, okay?
That's right.
And so it's just so interesting that, we're talking about that, because that's the next thing I was going to talk about, when I had an opportunity to speak, is because, the truth of the matter is we can't outfight them. We can't outfight them, but we can outthink them, okay? And I remember reading in the greatest book ever written, the race does not go to the swift or the strong, but to he that endures to the end. Okay. So, we have to endure to the end, but with our minds and our spirits, our Christ mind, our spiritual mind, because really, folks, this is spiritual warfare. That's what this is. This is spiritual warfare. And so when I'm so looking forward to it, J Love, I'm so looking forward to and seeing all my colleagues there and stuff, because we got a story to tell, and you know what, and like Reverend Tia said, when you start talking, going to campuses and schools where these young folks are, now you're doing something. Okay, now you're doing something, because I'm gonna tell you the truth. This whole thing with this Gen X and Gen Z and caught up in meism and all that kind of stuff, that's very dangerous, particularly for Black and brown Gen Zers and Gen X. Okay, because I mean, with all due respect, people, a majority culture, you can be poor, but I remember when in slavery times, we might be poor, but at least we ain't Black. Okay, so there was always, we can be dirt poor, we can be living in a shed, we can be the, the podunk hillbillies, but Lord, thank God, at least we ain't Black. And so all I'm trying to say is that we got to wake up some of these, people who don't have an idea about Martin Luther King. They say, well, I remember hearing about him something in school, but I got to work on my computer programming class. I ain't got time for all that. And so we have to let them know. I think it was Cornel West said, race matters. Race matters. And I'm going to end it on this. When I ran for county prosecutor, it was talking about being colorblind. I said, no, I don't need to be colorblind. I need to be color brave. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. So we need to be color brave and tell Black and white young people what time it is, So God bless you. I'm looking forward to it, J Love, and peace and love to all y'all. Diane, God bless you too, sister. I appreciate you.
And I appreciate you too, Attorney Mac.
So yeah, so I before we leave tonight, I had this video of Crystal. I want her to be the last thing we hear before we leave off, because Crystal is in Huron Valley, and she's going to talk about in this video about what's going on there, how they're treating her, the health care that they're giving her. And these things are important. I know people are like, well, they're important because Crystal is human, and we have to start looking at the humanity of people. Crystal could be me, Crystal could be you, so we need to be aware of what's going on at all times, because you never know what could happen to you in just a second. So I want to thank you guys for coming on, and now we're going to listen to Crystal, and I'm going to see you guys after that next week or tomorrow at Huron Valley.
Life matter. I saw Dr. Ellison this week, and I saw him not too long ago. I was telling him, just showing him how my chest and how the fungus mold is growing, how it's growing in my ears. He said he didn't see anything. He wouldn't give me anything. He took my Benadryl. Matter of fact, it was on the 1st. He took my Benadryl from me. Oh, man, this is just heartbreaking. I'm just, like, really, really hurt right now. On Friday, I went over there to healthcare. I saw a nurse. He went back there. He said, I have to go report to Dr. Ellison to ask him and tell him what's going on. He came back and told me that Dr. Ellison told him, don't give me anything to tell me to go back and take the clearance and whatever. It's just so sad. The nurse looked like he was looking like he wanted to do something. He like, you are swollen and everything. Make a long story short, I went back over there on yesterday on Sunday, and I saw a nurse named Nurse Farini. She looked at my ears. She's like, oh my God, I never saw your ears this bad. I never saw this. They are black. They like, you can see the mold is attached to my ears. Like, it won't come out. You can just see it. It's growing really bad. And she was like, it's really inflamed and red in there. She called the doctor, not Dr. Ellison. She called, he came on the string. She told him what was going on. He said, order her some antibiotic drops, some pain medication, and put her urgent to see the doctor. So she took pictures, and when no one ever took pictures of it, she took pictures of it yesterday. She knows how serious and how bad it looks. I go every day. They saw me straight to Dr. Ellison, which they know this was not going to be fair. He looked in my ears. He like, oh, yeah, I see that you've been using the eardrop. I said, I knew he was trying to cover it up. I haven't even used the eardrops yet, sir. I just got them. So he seen the stuff in my ears and tried to cover up. He said, well, I don't see anything. And we had a meeting about you. All the doctors think it's the same. He was marking, like, do your head hurt? Do your shoulders hurt? Do your legs hurt? It's all in your head.
Oh my God.
It's wrong. He's like, it's all in your head. You might think that something is wrong with you. That's what your man telling you. That is so heartbreaking when they know and they got blood work and medical work papers saying that something's wrong. For him to sit up there and tell me that today, and he's gonna say we all, how's all of y'all, and all y'all don't see me. It ain't seeing my body. So how could y'all agree with something that this doctor get together with y'all to say this about me when it's killing me? My whole eyes are turning dark. My face is the spots. Oh my God, y'all get to see my skin and how I'm just changing fast and quick. They is on some bull crap. They are covering up everything. Like, it's just obvious. Ever since I signed that paper for the parole board, my medical records, they've been doing more and more things, like trying to cover up, make it seem like I'm faking this all in my head. This is very heartbreaking. This is very wrong what they are doing. How is it possible they can get away with this when he gonna tell me today that the nurse Farini, I said, how the nurses and everybody else seeing it and documented, so he going behind them and changing it, talking about, he gonna tell me no disrespect, but that nurse don't know you like I know you. Then I've been knowing that nurse before you even come to this facility. So how is she not knowing what she sees? She sees something. She's telling them that it's red and flame and information that is bad. It's the blackness in my ears that she never saw nothing like this. The mold is just growing. How is it possible for him to sit up there and say that no disrespect, but the nurse, they don't know what they talking about? Like this is crazy what's going on. So everybody who says something is wrong and documented, all of a sudden I get going back to Dr. Ellison, he going over it and saying that nothing is wrong. It's all in my head. They are killing me here. I feel it like my body is, I don't know, I feel like it's going to shut down at any given time. And I'm trying to fight it. I'm trying to fight it. And it's just so heartbreaking to hear. It's just so heartbreaking. I'm trying. How is it possible that these people still here and got a job? I get every day is something. I had to wear a hat on my head because I got inmates in here talking about me, talking about what's that in your ears, what's that in your body, telling me that I'm contagious and telling other inmates to stay away from me. Don't use the phone after me. Don't let me touch them. Don't let me cook for them. Like, that is so heartbreaking what I'm going through in here. All because of healthcare telling me that they can help and declining my help and covering it up. Like, this is wrong. I should not have to go through this. I should not have to wear a hot hat on my head to just cover my ears up so I won't be getting teased and talk about. Even their own officers talk about me. Like, this is crazy. This is crazy. And then holding my mail and not giving it to me. Taking my mail, I have rights for that. Not giving it to me. Then y'all had our J paid down for this for a long time. It's up now, but this is unstoppable what they doing. Like, Lansing came in here, they said, I think it was in Buzzards, I'm not for sure, last week. The inmates told me the warden woke them up out their sleep 2 days in a row, making them scrub and clean the behind the thing and put new towel things up so it can look good. The warden himself. So can't nobody tell me that he's not in on this. He woke these people up at 2 in the morning out they sleep to cover up this stuff that we living in so they wouldn't see how we living. He ought to be ashamed of himself. They get too much money for how we living. This is unacceptable. We should not be this sick. We should not be inhaling this mold. None of this. It should not be this. We should not be showering in it or nothing like this. This is wrong what they are doing. Mm-hmm. Wrong. And he looked at me. I saw him, and I was about to say so. He hurried up and got away from me because he know he is wrong. He's in on it. They all have needs. He be right there about me. He is in on it. I never have been through this. I never saw nothing like this, and it's so many people say the same thing, like how we can get our doctors changed, and they forcing you to see a doctor already straight to his bare hands in my ears, accusing me, telling me that, oh, it's paper towel. Then he get the results saying that it's a mold. It's positive more than one time. And it's just crazy. This is crazy. What's going on in here? We need help. Help. Government, anybody, like, we need help. This is wrong. Like, heartbreaking. Like, I'm so tired. I'm just so tired, y'all. And I know y'all been doing what y'all can to help. It's so hard. It is really hard when I'm trying to keep faith. But y'all, put yourself in my shoes for a minute and see how I'm living. See what it's doing to my body. Feel my pain. Feel my pain each and every day. Pain. Swelling, pain, headaches, nosebleeds. Can't use the bathroom at times. Barely can breathe sometimes. Heart racing like this. And nothing is being done. Nothing is being done. They said it's all in my head when they got proof that it's not. Lord Jesus, I just need y'all. So if y'all been writing me anything, they've been keeping my mail from me. They've been taking my mail, sending it to the warden, and not giving it to me or not sending it back to the people. This is wrong. This is very heartbreaking. So I wanted to call y'all to let y'all know what's going on. It ain't got no better. It ain't getting no better. It ain't going to get no better with these. Till we get these demons out of here and shut this place down like it should have been. It should have been done. It should have been shut down. They know how this place was. They know how it is. There's no covering it. It's no secret. It's too many people lost their life. It's too many. Look at their staff. They all mostly quit. The people who was working here before is gone mostly because they said that they don't want to treat us like this. They don't want to do this and the way how we living. That we should not be living like this. But we asking y'all, and I know that y'all listen to us and on here, asking y'all to stand up for us. Speak out, please. What if this is your life, your kids? Speak out for us. Pain, feel the pain. Because that's what I'm feeling every day. It's not all in my head. I'm not crazy. These people is making it seem like I'm crazy. It's all for a check. Oh, it's for money for them. You already let somebody die and let their loved ones be hurt and their loved ones are doomed because you want a check and to cover the help when it's all as simple. All you have to do is send me to a hospital and get me help and do the right thing. Like this is heartbreaking, man. It's hard. They license need to be taken for good, and I'm quite sure this prison ain't the only prison they probably work at that did this. This needs to stop. We need to pick those people. Those people deserve to be behind bars. They need to be behind bars. Every single last one of them that know about this and doing it and helping them do it need to be behind bars. We need to stop. We need to stop. We need government. We need you. We need you to step in. Holly Washington, you know you're very aware of this, and ain't nothing being done. This is just wrong. This is wrong. We should not be treated like this. So I'm just want to let y'all know this is. I'm taking it one day at a time, but it's pain. I try to do things to keep me focused, not to think about it. I got to ignore the pain because I'm not getting help. My throat, y'all should see these knots. I'm trying to talk, because my throat, these knots has got huge. But I just want y'all to know I really, really appreciate all of you, all the support that y'all gave us, that y'all have gave us, and still on everyone. We just love y'all so much. I'm very grateful and thankful. We need help before it's too late. I'm asking and calling on all of you, for all of you to help us any way you can. If you know somebody can help us, please spread the word. Get it out there. Please, I do not deserve this. We don't deserve this. I do not deserve to lose my life in this. I've been fighting, been begging for help. They won't send me to a hospital. And when they do send me out, Dr. Ellison, he tell them that nothing is wrong with me, so I'm not getting it right here. Please, Lord, I can't take no more. I'm tired. I'm tired. Please help. Please, please, please help. It's not witnesses. So many witnesses, so many people are willing to speak out and tell what they see and what's being done to me. This is wrong. This is wrong. I can't deserve this. I'm tired. This is so wrong what they doing. And then smiled in my face with a smirk like this is wrong. Well, I just want to tell y'all I will be back in touch. I want to let y'all know what's been going on and what's going on. I'm just asking for help. My name is Crystal Denise Clark. I'm in the Valley of Death. This is the Valley of Death. Really hurtful. They should be ashamed. So any help, we just need any help. And I love y'all, and I appreciate everybody that's helping. And y'all will be hearing from me soon. Thank you so much. Thank y'all so much.
So you guys join us tomorrow at Huron Valley Prison. And as we stand up for Crystal and all the other women inside of there that's suffering for the mold. It's from 11 to 1 p.m. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. And we'll see you next week, turning a moment into a movement. Good night, everybody.
Good night, Jack.